drugs and alcohol on site is forbidden. Violators will be removed from the secure area immediately.
And welcome back to another Crooked Grins build guide for Tom Clancy's Division 2 Warlords of New York. Before we get into the next video, just wanted to remind you to hit the like button, subscribe, share with friends, and hit the post notification bell so you can stay up to date on more builds and content. With all that said, let's get into the next build. Next up for the Punisher squad is the Pre-Anchor, codename Boomer. This operative is an explosive job title which entails big damage initiations, keeping enemies away from the flanks and punishing enemies stuck in cover. He is somewhat mobile, but not as much as the Poltergeist, who assists with blocking enemy flank routes. Also, does his very best to keep the anchor as safe as possible. As far as the build concept goes, the Boomer is the explosives expert of the squad. He uses various skills to keep the enemy funneling to one side of the field, which will be the advantageous side for the squad. Now, rarely should the Boomer be in the front lines with the Poltergeist and or the Oppressor. However, some desperate times do call for desperate measures. You need to deliver clear and orderly comms on flank route statuses the enemies may be taking, so your squad can react accordingly. Now let's take a look at weapons and equipment for the Boomer. He is a specialized demolitionist, so he is equipped with a grenade launcher, semi-automatic rifle, submachine gun, pistol, and frag grenades. The primary is the Police Mark 17. The Police MK-17 is preferred due to the usual positioning of the Boomer, which allows him to engage from ranges to take advantage of flank comms and complete buffs from the in-sync talent. It is your job to maintain a relatively safe distance from enemies, but close enough to pick up a little bit of aggro so they don't focus your anchor. Now we have the secondary Vector SBR-45 ACP. Incoming hostile from the flank? No worries, because this submachine gun will burst them down quickly along with a particular skill in their way, which will also allow the Boomer to capitalize on his in-sync talent. If the problem seems to be too much, your Poltergeist will assist when he's available. If the Poltergeist can't, you have an anchor to help bail you out. Just try not to make it a habit to call on your anchor. Then we have the Sidearm, the TDI Card Custom, making another appearance as it provides the Boomer with +1 to skill tier and some hefty damage from the in-sync talent, let alone the weapon damage. Great for initiations and a great cleanup weapon to have if the enemy happens to survive one of your deployed skills. Moving on to skills and utilities, first up is the Shrapnel Trap. This is the primary skill and is to never be swapped out. This provides excellent flank protection and destroys enemies trying to flank your squad's deemed weak side. Also, this causes bleed, which helps you, the Poltergeist, and especially your anchor with dealing damage to shut down these said flankers. Next up, we have the Explosive Sticky Bomb. The Sticky Bomb has its purpose, however, it is usually not as proficient as its counterparts. If you are to use this skill, be sure to plant it at the feet of a group of hostiles, so you can get the most out of the explosion damage. Now let's move forward onto the Cluster Seeker Mines, my personal favorite. These are a staple due to its effectiveness in manipulating multiple hostiles who are far spread over the AO. Best used for initiations and when enemies are suppressed and for punishing those who are unwilling to get out of cover for your oppressor to mow them down. Now moving on to the last but not least skill, which is the Artillery Turret. It is definitely a go-to when an area of combat is pretty open and somewhat bare. Be sure to make it rain on the battlefield when enemies are being too aggressive or too turtled up in cover. Now, I'm not saying this skill cannot work in some enclosed spaces, but usually insufficient due to too many obstructions to the line of sight and trajectory. So be sure to swap when appropriate. All right, let's move on to gear and brands, kind of make it brief. The PX Boomer's gear consists of one Wyvernware piece, one Hannah U Corporation piece, one China Light Industries Corporation, also known as Click, two Grupo Sombra pieces, and one Czech Pro piece. Now, all pieces combined, including brand buff and watch level, you should be a minimum of 100% skill haste, 60% increased skill damage, 40% increased explosives damage, 47 to 50% critical hit chance, roughly 80 to 100% critical hit damage, and 40% weapon damage. Moving on to the gear talents. First up will be the Backpack talent, Perfect Combined Arms. Shooting an enemy increases total skill damage by 30% for 3 seconds. Absolutely perfect for getting an extra kick to your already explosive skills. Do utilize this as best as you can, or the skills won't be all that impactful in regards to damage. And then we have the Chest Piece talent, Kinetic Momentum. When in combat, each skill generates a stack while active or not on cooldown. Stacks increase your total skill damage by 1% up to 15 stacks per skill. The stacks for said skill will be lost when that skill is on cooldown. Yes, this is another spicy kick in combination with Combined Arms and in sync. You will definitely do some serious damage to the opposition when it comes to initiations, without a doubt. So let's go ahead and wrap this up. The pre-anchor should definitely help you and your squad at keeping your flanks clean. With the current 3 released in a single filed line from front to back, from closest to the enemy to the furthest away from the enemy, we have the oppressor in the point man position, the poltergeist in the wingman position, and the boomer in the pre-anchor position. Now let's talk group play. As far as the oppressor goes, he will now have an easier time on the front line. So the oppressor needs to be a little more comfortable with moderately extending from the squad and into the enemy. Now, this doesn't mean to overextend. I mean this in the sense of how far you are apart from your squad and the amount of time you are extended from your squad. Be mindful of this. You can most certainly call for damage support from the poltergeist and the boomer. Be aware of what second skill your boomer is using for strategic assistance. As for the poltergeist, he should be working on multitasking at this point. He should be assisting both the oppressor and the boomer. You will ultimately be drone support for the oppressor. You can match the drone with the oppressor's drone to improve the damage reduction's effectiveness, or chain his drone to improve the sense of duration. Also, keep an eye on the oppressor's armor. When it comes to assisting the boomer, you will naturally be covering the strong side of your squad's position, since the weak side will have traps. Furthermore, you will lend damage support if the boomer and/or the oppressor requires your assistance. Finally, we have the pre-anchor. The boomer will be blocking off the weak side of the squad's position with his shrapnel traps, assist the poltergeist with the strong side, and do his best to help herd the enemies towards the oppressor, so the enemy will have to funnel into the strong side. Don't be hesitant to request for weak side assistance from the poltergeist when you need it. This also acts as an alarm so the squad can react accordingly. That concludes the PS Boomer Operative, the 3-man version of the Punisher Squad, and their gameplay breakdown. I hope you all really enjoy these. I've been having a lot of fun with this, and I can't wait to start working on more. So please, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, share with friends, and hit the post notification bell so you can stay up to date with my latest builds and content. Also, make sure to hit the comments below to feed that algorithm. I'll see you all next time.